man-to-man coverage.
4th and 3, game on the line. Williams loafing one for a doozy. He caught it!
Kamara in at tailback. He's got 5 rushing touchdowns. And now 6. Tied for the most all time.
You're listening to the world's #1 football podcast. Now, with more insights on all things football, here are your hosts, Ben Hansen, Matt Hartman, and Ryan Matthews.
See, we told you guys would hear Ryan's voice again. There it is. The new intro. It was about time that we got a new intro with Matt in there, and maybe took out the whole Justin Fields and replaced it for Caleb Williams and Alvin Kamara and everything. But Matt, how you doing?
Ben, I'm doing great. Excited to talk some news. Excited to talk about some edge rushers. Overall, just ready to talk ball as I always am.
We love to hear it. Yes. Today's just going to be news. Pretty light news week. Not a whole lot of stuff to talk about. And then, as Matt said, we're going to deep dive into the edge rushing position for you guys as it kicks off our defensive rankings for you, and then round it out with a little mock draft. But we will start with a couple signings that the Giants made. They signed Russ yesterday to a 1-year, $20 million deal, and then Jameis to 2 years, $8 million, maybe making the funniest QB room in the history of the NFL. I would love to be a fly on the wall during those meetings, just hearing those guys talk to each other. I'm sure we're bound to have some very, very good clips of these two guys at the press conference and stuff. It's really a beautiful, beautiful thing. But your thoughts on those two signings?
Yeah, I mean, signing Russ is an expected starter. I know he had a comment about like how he expects to be the starter. I don't know if this is a battle between them two. I don't know if it was, they just didn't have anybody else, because going into free agency, Tommy DeVito was the only man on the roster at the quarterback position. So I think they're just trying to get bodies. But then again, like, I don't. Does it stop you from taking Shedeur is my biggest question. Do you think it does?
No, well, that's why I think 1 for 20 for Russ was a little much. But in theory, that's why I like signing. In theory, that's why I like the other signing that we'll get into in a little bit, is it offers both teams flexibility is now to do whatever they are at 3 and at 4. Because now, if the Giants aren't in love with Shedeur Sanders, now they don't have to pick him. They can say, well, their quarterback is down there in Austin. We can just wait another year. Or if they are truly in love with Shedeur, as much as everyone is reporting on it, they absolutely can still take him. Russ on a 1-year deal is not going to stop you. So in theory, that's why I do really, really like this signing. Or they can sit back and maybe take, Jalen Milroe in the second round or something like that. And I think this signing offered them really good flexibility. So I liked the signing. It was a little much, but I mean, what do you think? Do you think it would prevent them from doing Shedeur?
Absolutely not. Like, that's what's fascinating about this, is that, like, this was the best situation they could have possibly had. Like, unless they were in love head over heels with Sam Darnold, this was the best you were going to get. Two kind of lower end starting into the backup tier kind of players. You weren't going to do the Rodgers thing, because the Rodgers thing doesn't, change your destiny. And you could say the same thing with Darnold. And I don't think the number 1 pick was ever for sale. Like, the Titans can talk about how it's for sale now, and they can talk about how an overwhelming offer. They're not moving off that pick. After what they've done in free agency specifically, they're not going to move off that pick. So overall, like, Joe Shane and Dable that's what's just incredible to me. In a real deal, like, prove it, we have to win football games year, this team might be walking into training camp with Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. And, we have to assume there's going to be a rookie somewhere, but is that at 3? Like, is that a reach of Shador? I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, interesting. But again, this now allows them to take BPA if they choose to go there. That allows them to take Travis or Abdul Carter, depending on who falls. A lot of buzz out there that the Browns are really, sold on Abdul Carter at 2. But again, we don't know. We're still a month out at this point from the draft. And then the other quarterback news is more there a lack of. Just like we were 2 years ago now at this point, we're just sitting here waiting, twiddling our thumbs, sitting back, saying, Aaron Rodgers, where are you going to stop? You want to kind of break down where he stands and what his situation looks like right now?
Yeah, so over this past weekend, Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers met for what they said was multiple hours, and they were both kind of feeling it out for each other. But then you get to the end, and there's no deal. There's no deal imminent. There's no expected deal in the next few days, and it's just like Rodgers is just kind of getting the lay of the land going, this is the only place that wants me. Hopefully Minnesota comes up. I feel like that's the point he's at, that I think Rodgers wants to be wanted more than he's actually wanted, and that's the dire of the situation. Nobody is really moving out resources at the quarterback position to get a 40-year-old who is coming off a bad season. Like, you could look at the counting stats, and the counting stats were fine, but overall, Rodgers was not a good quarterback this past season, and there's only one team that's going to make the sacrifices to, get him, and it's the Steelers at this point, and I think he's still holding out hope, the Vikings, because I think the Vikings are the best situation if he wanted to win. So it's just fascinating because, again, there's nothing left. It's just he just wants us to talk about Aaron Rodgers, and that's fine. But at some point, if you're the Steelers, if this goes through the draft, which who knows, it could. At what point do you say all right, this is actively stopping us from making decisions in the draft? Aaron Rodgers doesn't stop you from drafting a quarterback anyway, but does it stop you from drafting one at 20? So it's just interesting.
Yeah, I as fun as it would be for him to go to the Vikings, it just seems like they're all in on JJ, and that has always seemed to be the plan. You go in on JJ, and if he's good, that allows you the contract flexibility that a good young quarterback in a rookie deal offers. And if you go out and sign Aaron Rodgers, you no longer have that. Given if you sign Aaron Rodgers, it won't be for a whole lot of money at this point. But then on the flip side of that, the Steelers definitely they need a quarterback. They don't have anyone. I guess if you want to have Mason throw the football, go ahead. Do that, but it's a bad situation. My guess would be the Steelers at this point, but yeah, I think he just wants people to talk about him. So, and then getting into the Patriots new signing, there's been a lot of buzz about which wide receiver they're going to take because they really need to surround the young quarterback in Drake May with some weapons. And again, they were in on a whole lot of names on DK, Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins just for a little bit. They weren't able to get any of that, so now they have settled with Stephon Diggs, a guy that had played 7 games, who's getting older, is coming off of an ACL tear for a 3-year contract worth $69 million, averages roughly to $23 million a year. And it's kind of what I was saying with the Russ trade, with the Russ signing. In theory, I like it because it's. You're no longer forced your hand to take Tet or whoever there at 4. I think it should be Tet, but that's a conversation for another day. But if they want to go Tet, Stephon Diggs will not stop them from going that route, but now their hand is not as forced to take a pass catcher at 4 like it was before. But again, it's an old Stephon Diggs coming off an ACL injury, 3-year contract. I would like to see how the guarantees in the structure of that is before I make my final say on whether or not I like that signing. But your thoughts on that one?
No, I echo what you said at the end there with the guarantees, because it can say 3 years, $69 million and 23 annual, blah blah blah. He only got 26 guaranteed, which is on par with the Cup deal, and Cup signed 3 years for 45. So how would that structure work? They're going on Spotrac. I was trying to find it while you were talking. It's still not released, the structure of it all. But like, the Patriots on Over the Cap still had over $70 million. If this thing is a basically 1-year contract and you have an out after 1 year, like the Sam Darnold thing with Seattle, where it's like, we just need a volume pass catcher this season to just properly evaluate our quarterback. Thumbs up, New England, because you had to do this. But if it's a stretching into year 2, stretching into year 3, which I don't think it's going to be, then I'm a little hesitant, because he is 32 years old. So it's interesting. I think this was the best one you could get of any of them, because I think there is inside-outside versatility and there is volume ability in him as a pass catcher. But overall, I think just finally getting a receiver in the room that has caught a football for multiple seasons is a benefit for Drake May.
Yes, absolutely. And staying on that Texans point a little bit, this Nico contract now, every single time someone is signing a contract, is looking better and better and better and better. Nico's making less than T. Higgins, and I think most NFL fans can agree Nico Collins is a better wide receiver than T. Higgins and is making less money. Nico Collins is making $1 million more, which to me and you, $1 million is a lot in the grand scheme of the NFL. It's absolutely nothing. He's making $1 million more a year than Stephon Diggs at this point. So again, kids, go and pay your young stars here. And then our last signing of the week, Brandon Cooks to the Saints, 2 years, $13 million. I'll let you take this one away.
Happy for him to come home. 2014 drafted. He had some fun moments here. He had a 98-yard touchdown against the Raiders, week 1, like 2016, I want to say. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be fun. This is an awesome receiver room. It's so much fun. Like Brandon Cooks, Rashid Shaheed, and Chris Olave. That's just juice. Like, can we get an X in there? Maybe it's Cedric Wilson, but overall, I think it is a fun idea for Kellen Moore to kind of figure out, like, all right, we want to get Brandon Cooks while we already have these two explosive players. So it's going to be fun to see what the 2025 Saints are, and having Brandon Cooks come back is always a plus. Because I remember a few years ago at the deadline, I wanted them to trade for him for some reason. I don't know what year it was. Maybe it was like when they were still pushing with Breeze, but yeah.
Yeah, he has been everywhere at this point. He's been traded everywhere. And again, it's fun to see him back in the Saints uniform. I remember when he got traded to the Patriots, it kind of felt like it was out of nowhere. But I mean, shoot, you guys got Ryan Ramczyk out of that.
Yeah, got a first-round pick out of it.
Well, and now. Exactly. So, and now he finds his way back in New Orleans. So, again, very, very fun. And then the last one we want to talk about is the NFL Competition Committee proposed 2 different kickoff rules for the owners' meeting. The first one is kind of going back to the old onside kick rules. This most recent year, they changed the rule saying you could only onside kick in the fourth quarter. And now the NFL Competition Committee is trying to step that back and say, no, we want an onside kick whenever we choose to want to onside kick.
Which is good.
And then the other one, which is good. It's so much fun for the surprise onside kick, and I'm sure you know a lot about the benefit of doing a nice surprise onside kick there. And then the other one is moving the touchback from the 30 up to the 35. People are saying, well, it's because it is now making people want to return the ball more, which that sentiment makes no sense to me. If we're moving the ball up the field, up to the 35, why would that encourage people to return it?
I think it's more so the kickers. It's not so much the returners getting into this. The way they
So putting it
describe
in play to return?
is, yeah, moving it from the 30 to the 35 on kicks sent into the end zone, further incentivizing kicking teams to send the ball into the landing zone. So that landing zone, which was like, what was it? It was like the 20 to the end zone. That's where I think they're incentivizing kickers to, like, stop just kicking it out of the end zone, because we want the kickoff to be a play that people like, and we want to, prove that we were right switching the old kickoff to this new kickoff, the dynamic kickoff, whatever they call it. So that's the way I'm interpreting it, which, I mean, whatever. Like, I don't think the kickoff needs this much retooling to be good. I don't think it matters as much in the grand scheme of things for me. I know people love a kickoff touchdown, but at the same time, like, I don't think this needs this much tweaking trying to get it perfect. I think it's already, like, I think it's good enough, and maybe I should be on the strive for perfection in the kickoff game, but I think we had less injuries, and that's it. And that's all we want. So
Yeah, I think that's what matters the most, more than anything, is player safety. That's what they got out of it. I think, again, it's just, you're overthinking it. Just leave it how it is. When we're consistently changing these rules year after year after year after year, all that's going to do is make it more complicated for the players that are actually playing the game. Like, I remember the first week or 2 weeks into the preseason, it even took the returners a second, and they had all off season to learn these rules. But it's so different when it comes game time. It just causes more confusion than what I think it's actually worth at this point. So I'll be interested to see if they end up doing this. But who knows? But now we are moving on to the fun part, probably the meat and bones of this episode, and this is going to be our edge rusher prospect rankings. We both have 15-ish guys ranked / evaluated. I have 13 with a full write-up, and then I have another 2 that brings my list to 15 that aren't full write-ups, just kind of watched them a little bit here and there, but didn't have the time to do a deep dive on them. But you have a full 15, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm thinking about just naming my 15 to 11 just really quickly, and then again we can really deep dive the 10 to 1. The 15, 14, and 13 are really in no particular order for me at this point. But that's David Walker. For those who don't know, he's the edge rusher out of Central Arkansas. He has a small frame and comes from an even smaller college. He's 6'1". He does a good job using his natural leverage as a pass rusher, and he has a good pass rush plan, but he's just not really explosive at all. He just reminds me a lot of a small school. Brandon Graham is the best way I would describe that. 14 for me is JTT, the edge rusher out of Ohio State. He has a very high floor for me as a run defender. I think he could step in immediately and start on rundowns and saying, I'm setting this edge, no one is getting past me. But for me, he didn't flash a whole lot of pass rush upside. And then for 13, it's his teammate there, Jack Sawyer. I think he's going to be a fine rotational piece, but I don't ever think he's going to be this, impact starter for me. I think he's a very physical guy. I think he's a very smart guy, gritty. Some could say he plays with good power, has a good bull rush and strong arm, and is just smart. He has a good understanding of pullers, run scheme, blocking schemes, and does a good job of setting the edge. But he doesn't have a good first step. He has not so good ankle flexion, meaning his bend is bad. He's not super twitched up, and he's just overall a really stiff guy. But I think he could, again, come in and be a good third pass rusher and just do kind of, again, the gritty stuff. that you need rather than these flashy guys that we see up at the top of the draft. But those are 15 to 13 for me. And then the other guys, these guys are ranked now. They'd be Braden Swinson, the LSU guy. Seems to be everyone's darling as of late when it comes to the draft community. Everyone's kind of come out of the woodworks. Everyone's like, oh my God, we love him. For me, he just kind of seems as a good stand-up designated pass rusher right now, and maybe he could develop into more. But just a lot of speed to power. He does a good job with his inside counter. He does have flexible hips, which allows him to have good bend, good hand usage, and is a physical guy. But he's really, really, really bad in the run game. He's over-aggressive. He gets washed out in zone runs. He cannot handle a double team at all, and he takes really, really bad angles when it comes to tackling guys. And then he's still just developing that pass rush arsenal, which I think he can do because he's shown the ability to do so. And then 11, very quickly, is just Landon Jackson. For those who are wondering, Landon Jackson is that guy from, I think it was the Under Armour Bowl in high school. And it was that one guy who looked really, really goofy when going through the drills. That is Landon Jackson. He has a really good frame. He's 6'6", 264. Another guy that uses his speed to power very well, and very good at attacking the run game at the point of attack, and has violent active hands and plays with high motor. And due to his frame, I think he can be a really good NASCAR defensive tackle. For those who are interested in what that means, that's just throwing in an extra, defensive end at the tackle position rather than a defensive tackle. So you just get more pass rushers out there on pass rushing downs. But he's not super quick. He plays with a high pad level because he is 6'6". He's not very good at bend, and he has a slow first step. So I think he has, again, a good high floor, but I think he just lacks the bend and explosion to be a real true sack artist at the next level. But those are very quickly my 15 to 11.
Do you want me to do the same? Run through my 15 to 11?
Yes.
All right. 15, we agree. I have David Walker out of Central Arkansas. Pros, he's an intelligent and compact rusher. Shows and sets up his pass rush moves so elegantly for a smaller school guy, and flashes the quickness into the attacker to get inside and outside and win that way. Real deal leverage for a small guy, which is needed for success in the league. Flashes speed to power and flashes hands that are quick and on target in the run game. And then the cons are pretty simple. Like, he's a short and tight frame, sub 6'1", sub 32-inch arms, and good but not overwhelming athlete to make up for that frame. Lack of competition, had excellent production, but again, it's all with a grain of salt because he played FCS the last 3 years. And he's going to be 25 going into week 1. Not overly explosive off the line of scrimmage, getting to the outside shoulder of tackles. He will try and just punish through the chest of tackles, and it leads to just dead reps, both in the run game and the pass game. And he'll end up in the pass game losing contain because of it, so that's a problem. And then the short arms really flash in one-on-one blocking in the run game. He is a prototypical fun project end of in day 3 for me. So yeah. I think a lot of people like him because of the school that he went to, and it's fun to kind of dig in and find him and look at the production. But overall, there's a reason he's playing where he's playing. So yeah. Then we get to 14, Josiah Stewart out of Michigan by way of Coastal Carolina. Pros, he's an explosive and aggressive speed rusher. Has great momentum when timing the get off right and the acceleration to finish around the corner. Has leverage in his first contact, which is valuable for how small he is. And then motor is flash in his effort and pursuit speed when closing in on tackles. The only the cons are he's just small. He's 6'1", just like Walker's 6'1", but this time Walker's 260 something. Josiah Stewart is sub 250 with sub 32-inch arms, so that's just, it's hard to make exceptions for that guy. He's just an outlier for some teams with his size, not an overwhelming run defender, will get outmatched in situations, but is instinctual when cutting up into the middle of gaps at the line of scrimmage. I wanted to give him that plus. And then the hands need more pop and strength. Didn't showcase speed to power, didn't flash many counters. Sometimes rushes would just die if he didn't get right around the corner. So that was my 14, Josiah Stewart. 13, Olufemi Oladejo out of UCLA, by way of Cal Berkeley. His pros, he has the motor, the effort, and mentality of a killer made on the edge. Has heavy, violent hands at the line of scrimmage and is looking to set a strong edge in the run game, and has a ton of just tone-setting mentality for me. Has the counter phase down, in outside shoulder chop move and spin move primarily were the things I saw him getting to, but in those contact battles, he knew how to feed off of them. The only con, or the biggest con for me, I have it in all caps, was lack of plan, because this guy has only been a pass rusher for one season at UCLA. At 2 years at Cal, he was an off-ball linebacker, and last year at UCLA was an off-ball linebacker. So just overall needs to figure everything out. He gets redirected too often because of his straight line rushes and his average frame. And then, diagnose in the run game will need to get better if he wants to be an every down player. Again, him and Stewart are kind of in that fun little range where it's like maybe he sneaks up, maybe someone really likes him, but at the same time, it's like you are a role player probably, and we'll find out down the line where that role is. Number 12, you mentioned both 12 and 11 here. Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. The pros, elite height and length gives him flexibility to play inside and out. Hands are violent and intelligent, uses his hands in the counter phase very well. Good athlete all around, flashes the speed to power and get off for a very tall player. The cons, the upper body play strength for his size is just lackluster. Doesn't bull rush and doesn't split double teams with real deal power for how big he is. That was an issue with me. Not enough of an athlete to threaten the outside shoulder consistently. Lack of just overall lack of flexibility and bend. Very stiff athlete. And then he wins. His winning as a pass rusher was with his motor and his motor alone currently. Has the hand skills to work moves, work pass rush moves, but again, need to see it to make it happen. 11, JT Tuimoloau out of Ohio State. Pros, long, framey athlete, has interior plausibility, strong and powerful. That was my biggest thing with him, is that he was very strong and powerful, strong in edge setting, had a powerful bull rush. The violent hands had intent behind them when he's in both the pass game and the run game. High motor until the whistle with a clean bill of injury history, and excellent production in his final year. 50 pressures, 15 sacks, 39 run stops, all according to PFF. He probably didn't have 15 sacks total, but PFF counts half sacks, so 15, half sacks, total sacks, however you want to say it. And then his cons, for the most part, is a subpar athlete, lacks NFL twitch, explosiveness, and burst off the line. Pass rush moves consist of overwhelming the guy in front of him with his motor and power. Needs to gain moves to be a starter. Both him and Landon Jackson, I see the same way. Both pretty stiff NFL athletes, but they have the size and the power that... Tuimoloau is more powerful than Landon Jackson, so that's probably why I have him higher. But just overall, I think both of those guys are role players walking in the door that there is a fun upside to develop into, but overall, I don't see them as first round guys, where I feel like that's these 12, 11, 10, and then 9 I would all have as cutoff. You guys aren't first rounders, but from 8 up, I think everybody could be a first rounder, all 8 of these guys. So
I'm right there in the same boat with you. From 8 up is all guys I at least expect to be taken. Obviously, you never know.
Top 50 guys, I'll say that.
Yes, yeah. Top 50 is a good one. Josiah Stewart, love Josiah Stewart. And for a small guy, again, I didn't have him scouted, but as you can see with the flag behind me, I do watch a lot of him. The one play for Josiah Stewart that will always stand out for me specifically is not even a pass rushing move from him. It's when Michigan played Bama in the playoffs, and Bama's answer was to QB draw up the middle behind one J.C. Latham to take the lead and win the game. And of all people, the small edge rusher, Josiah Stewart, stopped J.C. Latham dead in his tracks, which allowed the rest of the defense to get him there. It was absolutely amazing. So, but we can go ahead and get started. It was perfect because my number 10 was a guy that you had covered in that list. I cannot pronounce his name. How do you pronounce the UCLA guy's name?
Oluwafemi Oladejo.
Oladejo. Femi Oladejo is probably what people most likely call him. He's my number 10 guy. Again, as you said, very raw, has not spent a lot of time at the position, as you noted, has only spent 1 year here as a true edge rusher. But man, his motor runs hot. He's just relentless. He will take, he will hunt guys down and he will not stop until he hears that whistle. I think he's a plus athlete. I think he showed a good bull rush for only being 6'2", and he also showed a really good cross chop on tape, and those seem to be his two go-to moves. And for him to only have 1 year and have two good moves to get it done, I think was really impressive for me. And again, he has that never say die mentality. But again, he's spent 1 year here. He's a very, very raw rusher. Again, smaller at 6'2". As you said, he needs to figure out a pass rush plan. He kind of just every snap just runs in there with his, hair on fire, kind of just waving his hands around. His hand usage really needs to get better. He stands up way too quickly out of his stance. And then his pass rush hand attacks just need better timing, but the more he does it, the more he should develop the timing on that. He might throw a move a little bit too early. He might throw a move a little bit too late, but again, that's as expected for a guy that has only played 1 year at this position. But again, for me, he's a guy that has shown really good traits for a dude who's only been there for 1 year. Again, I think I have him roughly on the edge of mid to late second. And I think a team is going to absolutely fall in love with what they've seen on tape and say, we're going to get him in the building and we are going to refine him and we're really going to turn this guy into a weapon. And I could absolutely see why. He was my number 10.
No, I completely agree. Like it's again, like just devoting that development to him because like I said, like he is a 1 year edge player, and it was pretty decent production in the Big Ten. It wasn't like overwhelming, but you could still figure out watching him that he is still figuring everything out, and now he's going off to the league. So now it's just interesting. But yeah, my number 10, Jordan Birch out of Oregon, by way of South Carolina. His pros, explosive, athletic freak with length and body type. Overall, just a powerful player. Strong bull rush, strong shedding ability in the run game, and takes on double teams with Punisher intent. Motor was my favorite part, has the never ever give up mentality, has strong edge set mentality in the run game, and improved year to year on his pass rush stuff. Overall production, and like watching a game in Oregon in 2023 and then comparing his tape to 2024, you see a very different player, which is something I like to do. Maybe not too much 2023, but kind of throw on a game and just see the development pattern and see if that guy is improving or is he a ready-made product. And I think Jordan Birch is doing that. The cons, he's not a bendy player. He wins going right through you or not at all. He's like 6'5", 290. He's a huge dude. Still developing the overall bag of pass rush moves. Needs to get better in the counter phase when he loses off the line. And then lastly, fifth-year older prospect who broke out late in terms of production and has a collection of injuries early in his college career. Jordan Birch is not going to be for everybody, but I loved watching his tape, so he had to be up here for me. I liked him more than Tuimoloau and Landon Jackson, even if they kind of all three fit the same bill. But yeah, I really like Jordan Birch.
Yeah, Jordan Birch, I'm going to guess is the last guy on this list that I have not watched. Doing quick math, is Sawyer not on your list?
Sawyer is not on my list.
There it is. And I don't blame you. Sawyer's not for everyone. He's a bit light in the pants, that's for sure. Yeah, Jordan Birch is fun. Again, I haven't watched his tape. I just know what people think about him. So you go. Another guy I'll have to add to my list there. Number 9, I'd like to formally apologize to you here, Matt. This is Matt's guy. This has been Matt's guy since, before the Senior Bowl at this point. Matt has absolutely loved this guy. One Princely Umami-Ellen. People struggle to pronounce that last name. Again, it's Umami-Ellen for those who struggle. The pass rusher out of Ole Miss, and previously before that, Florida. I really wanted to like him more than what I did, but this class is just stacked full of really, really good guys. So he just found his way at 9 for me. I think he's a player that has good length, good size. It has a very good, quick first step. And I think he's a smart player that takes good angles and actually has very good blocking recognition. And again, seeing where these players are going to go. Absolute killer spin move. Sometimes he relies a little bit too much on it, where it should only be used as a counter, and sometimes he uses it as his go-to move. And then he has really good shoulder and hip dip, which gives him that really good bend that we all love to see that these elite pass rushers have. But there were a lot of times that he was just not even on the field for the early downs. Those are going to be your rundowns, which could be saying stuff about Ole Miss and how much they trust him to come in and be a rundown defender and set the edge and really stop it. He plays with high pads, and for a big guy, for him to stand up straight isn't very good. And then he has a thin frame, which right now isn't very good, but he can put more muscle on that. I have a little bit of concerns with that just because he's not the most athletic player ever. So I'm wondering if putting more weight on that might take away from the little bit of athleticism that he already has. And then he just lacks true elite power. And then he doesn't really have a fully developed pass rush arsenal yet, but that's something that over time, as you do it more, you get into the NFL system with these coaches that really know what they're doing, can teach you that. Again, really fun player. He just is stuck in the class with a lot of really, really good dudes. And for an SEC edge rusher, he's had good production at 2 different stops. So that's another plus for him. But yeah, Princely Umami-Ellen at 9 for me.
Yeah, Umami-Ellen I had at 7, so not too much higher than what you had. The pros, long, bendy, explosive, winning pass rusher. He's an intelligent pass rusher when bending corners with his angle management and the way he dodges, tackle punches on the outside shoulder. Knows what he's doing with his hands, flashes the speed to power ability, but very limited though. I wanted him to really flash that at the Senior Bowl against some of those guys, and he was just deciding, I'm going to spin the entire weekend. He's professional in the way he sets up his pass rush moves. I think he's going in with an intelligent plan, idea of what he wants to do. And then lastly, you mentioned it, had really solid production with 100 pressures last 2 years combined at Ole Miss and Florida. The cons are just damning. He's a bad run defender. He has poor pad level. He isn't powerful and physical in the upper body. He needs to get stronger in his upper body. I don't know how much weight that would be, but he needs to get stronger in his arms because, like you said, he is a lean and tight guy, but he has longer arms for his frame. We'll need to expand the pass rush moves to be a true alpha player and like an every down player. Closing speed in pass rush shows and might result in great pressure numbers, but capped out sack numbers. And then lastly, the late get off sets up problems in finishing. So, yeah, overall, I had Umamielen in my top 5 pretty early in the process, and the more you watch other players and the more you see what the potential of the other players, he might be a capped out player. But I think he's a good enough player that you can sneak him into the top 40 for one of these teams and he can be productive on a rookie contract. But overall, if you're going to pay him past that, it's not going to be a long, fruitful contract. So he's a very limited and capped out player, but still at 7 for me.
There you go. Who's your number 9?
Braden Swinson, you mentioned him out of LSU. The pros, he's speedy, explosive, winning athlete with great flexibility and bend around the corner. Has good hand usage and technique when getting into pass rush moves. Has upper body strength. Flashes the speed to power, even if it's not a consistent winner. The cons, it's easy. It's a small, tight frame that might be capped out. He's another fifth-year player that it's just he's a tight guy. He looks tight. High pad level is a problem because he is smaller. Needs to learn to win the leverage battle due to his size. That's always a very important thing to see with these smaller guys is how do they deal with leverage? One of the perfect examples is one of the best centers of all time in Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce prided himself on the leverage battle, and so you want to exploit that advantage when you are a smaller guy. And so when I say that is what I'm trying to say is like these smaller guys really need to be intelligent in leverage management to really win long term in the NFL. And then lastly, his run defense all around isn't good enough. Won't be an early down run defender because he lacks the block shedding and discipline, but has a good motor. So I wanted to give that a shout. But overall, I do like Swinson. Just overall, like I do agree with you that he's become the darling of the class. I think he's in that, that little 9 range where it's like either I had to put him behind 10, 11, and 12 because he's a different kind of flavor, or I put him at 9. And so that's why I ended up putting him at 9 because I do like him more than the guys I mentioned at the bottom in 13, 14, and 15. So, yeah, overall, like Swinson's draft range, I think is going to be the 3rd round. I think he's pretty set there. Like, I hate to scout the helmet, but it's a lot of BJ Ojolari out of him.
Yeah.
Like it's you win one way and you're undersized. So let's figure out if we can get someone who can really put it together. And Ojolari went early 2nd, right? And he just
Correct, yeah.
And he's on a pretty downward trajectory with his injuries history. So yeah.
Yeah, he's been hurt. He hasn't really had a good shot to be able to see that. But I do like the comp there. Moving on to number 8 here. A guy that Matt does not have on his list because he will have him at it. That he will have, I'm presuming, on a coming list. And I was really fighting battles if I had him here on the edge list or here on the linebacker list. That's one Jalen Walker. Man, if there was one player that the NFL draft community is just torn apart on, it is this guy. We have people that are really, really well respected within the industry that has this guy as like a top 5, top 10 prospect. And then we have other guys that I don't see it at all. And I have him at 8 for a reason. I don't really see that from him, given I'm not one of the top guys within the industry. For me, in terms of being an edge rusher, I think he's very twitchy and explosive. He has very good motor. He has fine bend. It's not like a plus bend. It's not bend that I'm like, this is amazing, but I think the bend is there, and he does have good closing speed. But then that gets into that bigger question that I was referring to. Is he going to be a stack backer, or is he going to be an edge? And I didn't really like his linebacker tape either. So that's why I put him at edge. I thought his linebacker tape was pretty not fun, unenthused, I think. And if we're going to throw him at edge, he's a smaller edge. He's going to be 6'1", and it shows. He has bad power; it just does not exist, and he has bad run tape. I think even as a linebacker, I didn't like his run tape. So how is that going to project even further at the next level in the NFL when you ask him to put on and set the edge and stop the run, either at linebacker or at the edge, and then hand usage. He just doesn't have good hand usage at all. I really do not see it. This is one of the most perplexing players I have watched because I went in and I know how much people love him, but he's just another small, twitchy edge rusher for me. He hasn't really shown anything that has enthused me. I'm not like, wow, this guy is going to be really, really good at either position. For me, he's a good blitzing linebacker, better blitzing linebacker than what he is, even an edge rusher. And he's a twitchy guy that projects more as a stack backer for me. And I hate to say it, but he reminds me a lot of Devin White. And that's what Devin White was coming out of LSU. And look where Devin White is now. He signed a contract with the Eagles, got cut, played with the Texans for a little bit, and is now a free agent. No shot to Devin White, but it has not worked out. These undersized hybrid linebacker edge rushers just don't plan out the way that people really want them to. I really cannot get there with him, and I'm, again, at a loss for why people love him as much as they do. But that's Jalen Walker for me. He's just a twitchy, small edge rusher. Nothing special, which could be hard for people to hear. But, I might be eating, crow pie here, come 2 years. But here we are. I know you'll get into him in a little bit, but your thoughts on him as strictly an edge rusher.
Yeah, he's awkward because, like you said, he's small and he doesn't convert to speed to power that well. He's not a full-time guy because he's a small guy, because he just doesn't play the run, intelligently enough to be on the field for all 3 downs. He's tough, man. I think, we've had this talk off air that it's hard to, because there's people I truly, truly respect in this business who have been doing this so much longer than I, that they have Jalen Walker in the top 5 players, and I'm like, I struggle to find a place to put him in the top 15 picks. I don't. Yeah. It is all the athlete. It is all of that, just potential that we always want to talk about. But I think back to the league. The league told us 2 years ago that Nolan Smith was not a top 20 player and snuck into the first round. So, again, and Nolan Smith actually worked out and showed off at the combine, where Jalen Walker has done tape. Yeah, and Jalen Walker's done none of that. So it's really, really fascinating talking about Jalen Walker, because it's just, you're not going to draft an off-ball guy that high. And if I had to rank him as an edge, I'd probably have him similar to where you have him right here. It's probably maybe a little above my 8 guy and probably above Umamielen, and that still puts him at 7. And it's like, am I taking that guy in the top 10, top 15 picks? No, not even close. So he's a very, just, the word is awkward, because someone's going to take him, and hopefully you have a plan in mind when taking him. But overall, I think we both see eye to eye that it's just where? We can't find a spot that this makes sense, because he's definitely not a top 10 player.
No. Yeah. I'm glad we see eye to eye on that one, because I thought when I was writing him up, I thought I was going absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what am I missing? But I'm glad that I have someone that at least agrees with me a little bit here with that one. But you're number 8 guy.
Donovan Ezeraku out of Boston College. The pros, long and handsy winner at edge. Quick, active hands that showcase his technique and placement in the run game shedding and overall pass rush winning methods. The bag of pass rush moves are limitless, and he showcases his flexibility, and he wins primarily with a rip and a swim. But again, he has all of them in his bag. He flashes the club move, he flashes a ghost, he flashes, the dip against lower level athletes at the tackle position. So he's got every everything in the bag to really be a successful and intelligent pass rusher. Being shorter gives him advantage in the leverage battles, and he takes advantage. What I was just talking about with Swinson is that like he knows what he's doing in the leverage game, being a shorter player. Great production in 2024, 60 pressures, 14 sacks, mixed with 42 run stops, all according to PFF. And then the cons, like he is just a naturally small built pass rusher. Will be overmatched just in some run situations naturally, and against stifling anchors at tackle will instantly lose reps. It just happens because of his size. Like he has such, I have this marked, like he has such weird dimensions because his arms are so freaking long. Like they're over 34 inches, man. Like it's crazy, but he's not even like 250. So it's just a rare size frame that I've never seen before. Maybe there's someone out there that has seen a guy like this, but the play strength limits the speed to power move being a consistent threat for me. He's a good defined athlete, but the athletic profile is just, it's overall like he's a good athlete, but it's hard to make exception and justify the overall size and frame is what I'm trying to say. Like there are guys who are super duper athletes that can make up for what they are as an edge rusher, where I don't see it with Azaraku, but that's not how he wins. He wins with his long arm stuff and his powerful hands. Like, so again, like Azaraku, I still see as like a top 50 guy pretty easily because just supply and demand. And I think that he is unique to some of these guys up at the top that I think someone is going to catch on with him. But I know you really like him, so talk about him.
Yeah, he's my number 4 guy. And I really struggled with number 4 and number 5, and we'll get into number 5 as well a bit later on. I absolutely loved him. I mean, from the moment that I had seen his tape, I loved him. It shouldn't be a shock. There is a type of edge rusher that I tend to fall for way more than what the consensus does. Joan Ellis last year, Donovan Ezraku this year. These undersized, just nuanced pass rushers in every way I absolutely love. And again, nuance is the best way I could put him. He had 16 and a half sacks, which was number 2 in the country, number 1 in the Power 5, or I guess Power 4 conferences. As you said, he has very long arms, which was a little bit unproportional to his body size, as you mentioned, at 34 inches. I thought he showed a very wide variety of pass rush moves on tape, and I thought he showed natural bend as well. And at 6'2", as we talked about guys with leverage, I think he uses his leverage very well for a small guy. And I think for his size, he sets the edge better than what you would expect. I don't think he's this elite edge setter like a couple of the guys that we're going to get up, like the number 2 guy, for example, or my number 6 guy. But I think for his size, he sets the edge very, very well. And he plays almost every snap. I don't know what the exact percentages, but it seems like he is in every play on defense. Like this guy never comes off the field. In terms of cons, again, it goes back to that undersized thing. He's 6'2", and because of that, I don't think he has very good power. And then within the run game, he can set that edge, but I think he abandons his responsibility and his gap way more than what I would have liked. And then to that athleticism point, as you said, for a smaller guy, he didn't show this amazing lateral explosion that you would have hoped. But for me, again, I think he's a true pass rush specialist that really leans on good hand usage, bend, and long arms, but just needs to develop a little bit more in that power department. But again, I think a team is absolutely going to fall in love with what he can offer as a pass rush ceiling and say, well, he was at least able to get it done at a serviceable level in the run game. And if he can stay on the field on the run game and really let him loose and pin his ears back on those pass rushing downs, it was just hard for me to not fall in love with this guy. Again, I adore him. Love him. So But that's Donovan Ezraku for me at number 4. Now going on to our number 7 prospect. For me, it's Nick Scorton. He has a way longer first name, which I'm not going to try to pronounce. I honestly thought his first name was Nick, N-I-C, Scorton, but it's like Nick Ty Dietrich Scorton, I think is actually how you pronounce his first name. But he just goes by Nick. And if we were looking strictly at his Purdue tape, he would be higher up on the board for me. But when he made that transition to Texas A&M, he didn't have that same pass rush production that we saw at Purdue. He led the Big Ten in sacks when he was at Purdue just a year ago at this point. But I'm not super concerned about that. He showed that he could do it. A&M does not ask any of their defensive linemen to really rush the passer. There's going to be a guy later up on the board who me and you both love. And you look at even Nolan, he transferred out to Ole Miss, and he made that jump from how he was as a pass rusher from his first 2 years in A&M to how he was at the D-tackle position at Ole Miss. They just don't ask their guys to pass rush. So him lacking that pass rush production for me isn't too big of a concern. But in terms of pros for him, he's just a very thickly built guy, a very dense guy. And he has strong hands to go along with that. He shows a really good bull rush and really good gap discipline within the run game. And he just hustles every single play. And for a guy that's as big as he is, he has a pretty good spin move. Like when the first 2 or 3 times that I saw it, I was a little shocked. I was like, whoa there, big fella. You should not be moving as well as you are. In terms of concerns for me, the 2 big ones is that weight and production fluctuation that we saw at Purdue versus what we saw at A&M. And we kind of saw what I think his weight's going to be more at when we saw him at the Combine. He dropped like 15, I think it was close to 15, 20 pounds from A&M and what he weighed at A&M to what he was at the Combine. It was a lot closer to what he was at Purdue. And then he just isn't this elite pass rusher. And you shouldn't be shocked with the guy that's built like a refrigerator. He just has bad bend. He has stiff ankles, stiff hips, doesn't really dip the shoulder a whole lot. But again, I just think he's a very densely built guy that knows how to use his power to his advantage within the pass rush game. He can really set a hard edge in the run game and be a plus run game defender.
Yeah, so Scorton is at 6 for me, right above Umam Yellen. And like I just want to like preface it, like the production in the situation, the best way I could describe it was weird. Like he was way more productive at Purdue, and then he transfers to A&M. He gains weight to fit the system, as you mentioned, with like a Walter Nolan and Shamar Stewart, who we're going to talk about. Like it ends up limiting his overall athletic tools because he is so much bigger. And then you have no idea what any of this means because he shows up at the Combine at 257 as opposed to some said over 280 at A&M. And oh, by the way, at the Combine at 257, he didn't even work out. So it's like, I don't know if he's trying to show up and show everybody, look at me, this is the weight I play at. Or it's a, I lost so much weight, I can't do anything. Like, I don't know what it was, but it was weird, man. It was just weird to see him at that weight and not do anything because you would think losing that much weight, you would want to show off like Stewart did. But into his eval overall, the pros, long, powerful punisher, consistency in the edge set game, and is a mean pocket pusher. The get off and the twitch is great stuff for a guy his size. I think he times up stuff really, really well. Quick, active, powerful hands lead to good things in the run game in the splash play department, more so, TFLs and sacks, but didn't have the major production there. Like he was just getting to the quarterback, but wasn't finishing everything. Has a bag of deep pass rusher moves, flashes the winning ability with swim rips and spins primarily. You mentioned the spin stuff. and he flashes a mean hump move, the old Reggie White. The cons, burst and acceleration off the ball is a minus, limits the ceiling of a speed to power, consistent winning maneuver. You mentioned it, stiff bender on the outside shoulder of tackles for me. And he still ways to go in the run game as a consistent player. Like I talked about his splash plays and things like that, but as a consistent player, he struggles with sinking the hips as a run defender and will get antsy and be undisciplined in the run game, leading to plausible explosives, leading to big runs. So overall, Scorton he is a weird guy, man, because early in the process, it was like, this guy was like top 3 on everyone's edge boards kind of during the season, because I think we all saw what he did at Purdue. And then he has the year at A&M, and people start digging into the A&M stuff and going, this guy, no, like, this is not a top 3 guy. There's some people who still love Nick Scorton in that range, but overall, like, I think he's a first-round player. Like, where do you stand on Nick Scorton, like, the draft range? Do you think he's going to go in the first round? Maybe not, like, set in stone, but, like, is he a first-round player caliber for you?
Within this draft class, yes. Given, I mean, we've all said it numerous times. I think I'll probably have close to 15 true first-round grades. But I wouldn't be shocked if he sneaks his way into the back end of the first round there. You know, the Eagles pick at 32 or something like that. Sorry, guys. The Eagles pick there at 32. For me, I think he's a top 40 player. I think he's going to be back on round 1, early round 2. I'd be shocked if he was taken within the top 20 picks. But I would not at all be shocked if he was taken with like somewhere with the last 12 picks. But Nick Scorton there. And you said he was number 6 for you?
He was number 6 for me, yes.
Okay. I'm wondering if we're going to twin here, if we're going to have a match. Numbers. Oh, I guess we can't because he was 6 for you. But number 6 for me is Mikal Williams. He's your standard Georgia player who has the tools, has the frame, but was just on your limited snap count. A lot of people want to compare him to the guy that we saw taken, number 1 overall just a couple years ago, and Trayvon Walker. I can't get quite there. I don't think he has the same athletic tools as Trayvon Walker, but again, within that same mold, a guy that shows he can do it, but just played on that limited snap count because they rely so heavily on rotating those guys in and out. But he had a good frame. He's 6'5", 260. And I do think he was one of the few guys that I can say this in the class about, a plus run defender. He did a very good job of setting an edge, shedding a block, shedding the defender, and making the tackle within the run game. And I think he plays with really good power, and he's able to convert his speed to power as well. And I would hope so with his limited snap count, but he plays with a good motor. He is just continuously go every single time that he is on the field. That being said, he doesn't have that same quick get off, that same burst. His hand usage isn't there. I'd like to see it better. I think he has strong hands. That doesn't necessarily mean he has very good hands. That snap rotation, like I said, I think he lacks a pass rush plan. I don't think he goes in there and is trying to set anyone up over the course of a game with his different moves he has. And then again, it being 6'5", I think he stands up very, very quickly, exposing his chest with his high pad level. But yeah, Mikal Williams.
Yeah, I had him at 5. Again, like, the length and the size is there to be an extremely effective on or off the ball edge at the line of scrimmage. Easy floor because of his run game strengths, quick, powerful hands in the run game, matched with discipline in the diagnose phase and shed ability. Has a motor until the whistle in the run game and the pass game will sniff out. He has that in the pass game in a way where he sniffs out stuff at the line of scrimmage. He gets his arms up and bats balls down. I really liked that. And then flashes the speed to power productive reps of pocket push and double team sheds, which is what you want to see from a guy his archetype. The cons, not a good pass rusher, doesn't have a plan, doesn't have a winning maneuver, and is stiff, and doesn't have desired leverage. He is just a complete work in progress in the one department that you don't want him to be a work in progress in. So, like, it's the hands are powerful, but with technique rarely flash any winning formula. The duo of get off and overall timing of the snap was lackluster, and it needs to get better. And then lastly, his ankle injury limited most of his 2024 season. Like, Mykel Williams, he has all the archetype stuff to be one of the stars at the edge position, but overall, like, I just don't see this guy being a productive edge rusher because he's not going to get to the quarterback. Like, he is a prototypical on the field quickly because of those early down run game stuff, and he's off the field on third down, which if you're taking him likely in the first round, which I have him as a top 32 player, like, I think he's a top 32 pick, it's just, you're going to have to wait on him because he's going to have to figure out most of his pass rush stuff. And he's a young guy. He's only 21. So, again, there's time behind it. He's not going to get on the field and immediately change the game. But, like we talk about quarterbacks all the time, where it's like you need a redshirt year in the NFL. Like, Mykel Williams might be one of those guys that you can't throw out there right away and expect production because he's still learning how the game is going. So, yeah, like, I had him, again, he was another guy I had pretty high early in the process, but overall just kind of just compare and contrast with most of these guys, I ended up with a pretty majorly consensus top 6 among these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And him and Scorton were two guys that I went like back and forth throughout the entire process, flipping back and forth and back and forth on, and it just turned out to be this way.
I was out on Scorton so early. Like, maybe it was because of the top 3 stuff, but I was like, Scorton, like, top 50 player? Probably not. And then, like, I kind of full circled to being like, yeah, all right, 6 is a good spot for him. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 5 is going to be a guy that I know a lot of people absolutely love. At one point in the season, before the season had started, I actually put money on him to win the Heisman, just because his odds were very good. That's one James Pierce. I can't quite get there with James Pierce. I really tried, but he just lacks a lot of power. He doesn't really have elite bend. He's not really good against the run. Okay, I don't want to say he doesn't have elite bend. His bend is fine. But there's just too much questions for me. But in terms of a good thing, I think he is a high-level athlete. We saw him put that, on full display at the Combine, and I think he is a very lengthy athlete. 6'5", has the 34-inch arms that we love to see. One thing that he was very, very good at Tennessee over the course of the last 2 years really shows was his ability to jump the snap and really time up as soon as he's exploding with as soon as the snap is and guessing that. And that truly is a skill that you have to learn and develop. And he did a very, very good job with that. And there were a couple guys with the bigger frames that I've talked about that struggled with the leverage and high pad. But he did a very good job of being this longer, taller athlete, but still being able to get underneath the pads and use his leverage. And then I do think he does have a good bend. On the flip side of that, the very first thing that you have to talk about with him is these supposed character concerns. No, again, I've said it before, no one has been able to actually say what these concerns are. But there are, again, guys within the business that truly report on this and believe that. But that's neither here nor there. But those character concerns do exist, at least within reports. And as I said, I think he's bad against the run. I think he has very weak punches. I think he has very bad power. And I think if he does not win at the start of the snap, he's not going to win. He does not have the recovery to make the play after he's lost the snap. But again, I think he's a very long, lengthy athlete, has a good frame, but lacks that true power. But yeah, he's number 5 for me, which isn't a bad. I think he'll be within the top 20-ish picks. So I might be lower on him than what normal people are, but I still think he's a good player, a fine player.
Yeah, I have him at 3. The pros, you mentioned it. He elite athlete with his speed, agility, and overall explosiveness off the ball. Flashes speed to power sometimes. He timed up snaps, you mentioned it, extremely well, leading to production in a power conference. The hands flashed up really quickly in one-on-one point of attack contact. Plays small with good leverage in the run game. Gets skinny in those things like that. And he had real pass rush production the last 2 years. The cons, light for the position, leading to getting moved out of the way by overpowering tackles. I mentioned it with Azaraku. Lacks overall bag of moves to win, like flashes mostly athlete stuff where he dips and rips around the edge and things like that. And then the hands are a work in progress, not strong enough to consistently win with speed to power, even if it is flashed. Most wins came with leverage and, off the ball, off the line of scrimmage timing. So, yeah, I mean, he's again one of those guys that's like, if you can put the athlete stuff together, this could be a great player. But at the same time, I didn't mention the character concerns because I don't know what they are. It's overall just ranking the player that I see on tape. But yeah, that's definitely something that's going to flash is like, what was it? I was reading a 4th round mock the other day. Like they had one, he dropped to pick 60. And I think for the player, that's insane. Like that's outstanding. Yeah. Like, because he's a really, really good player. It's just, I don't know how the character concerns are going to add up. We see one of these guys every single year. I think he's going to be a talented football player if he escapes these character concern kind of, titles around him. But overall, I think he's a top 3 pass rusher in this class because of his strengths. But I think he makes up for his weaknesses in his strengths. So it's just putting it all together and, again, taking away that label of the character concerns for him.
There you go. And who was your number 5 guy? And might as well do your number 4 guy back to back after that, because I had Ezra Aku at 4.
I had Mike Hill at 5. You want me to do 4?
Yes.
Mike Green out of Marshall. So the pros with him, he's a great athlete and he flashes his speed and explosiveness. He has quick and nasty hands that set up a ton of his winning pass rush moves. The rips, the swims, the cross chops. Also does him well in the run game. Has good discipline in the run game and will thump when called upon. High motor that plays until the whistle. The cons, like he's thin and he's small. Has limited arm length and a sub 250 weight. I forget what he weighed in at the combine, but it might have been not sub 50. Sub 250, it might have been a little bit over, but I know he played at sub 250. The pad level and leverage for his size will need to get better at the line of scrimmage to have success. And the speed to power was flash, but overall, power and play strength is a net negative at this time currently. Again, Mike Green is a top 20 player. He's going to go in the top 20 picks because of value at the position. And I could see someone liking him more than me, and he's going in the top 12. So again, like early in the process, I was kind of like, the production, I like what he flashes, plays at a lower school, maybe not. But again, coming full circle, I still have him as the 4th best player. He's really close to James Pierce Jr. and even number 2. So it's, again, he's a 1st round player. Like that's all the compliments I can give most of these guys in the top 6. I think all 6 guys are 1st round players.
Absolutely. Yes, he officially weighed in just above that 250 mark. He weighed in at 251 at the combine. Mm-hmm. But as you said, definitely played under
some
that
water
250
weight in
mark.
there.
Exactly. Yeah, no, he, just like I said with Ezra Aku, this guy's a true pass rush specialist. I had to throw in that power 4 little nuance here when talking about Ezra Aku, because Mike Green led all of FBS with sacks, 15 or 17 sacks on the season for him. Very twitchy, quick athlete, and as you said, shows a just very deep bag of pass rush moves, a very good hand fighter, and he was number 3 for me as well. Very good hand fighter. And he does a good job of dropping those pads in scoring. And then, as you said, he has that very high motor. Um, that being said, again, this doesn't go into how I evaluate the prospects, just like it was with James Pierce. It's another guy that has some character concerns about him. There are reports that have resurfaced from him back at high school and then him back at Virginia. Do your own research on that one. But he did have power school offers. Again, he went to Virginia on a no BS clause. That's if you find yourself in trouble, we are not going to ask questions. You are just going to be gone. And that's exactly what happened. He went to Virginia, stuff had arose, and that's why he found himself at Marshall, and that's why he dominated. Again, no one should be shocked. He had those power offers. But at that lighter weight, I think he does get moved off of his spot in the run game a lot, or he finds himself working around the player rather than through the player or dropping his butt in the hole and just plucking that hole up. And then he lunges to make tackles way too much. He's jumping to make these tackles more than what I would have liked. Again, he's just a smaller prospect. But as I said, again, he's a true sack artist, led the FBS in sacks, and has a really good combination of moves and twitch. But there are concerns about the character and then the smaller school that he had played at. But again, I think in our most recent mock, if you guys want to go and find that should be posted. I had him going 9 to the Saints. I could absolutely see a team fall in love with pass rush upside that he offers. And this gets into our top 2, and it makes me really happy. I would be very shocked if our 1 and 2 aren't the same. I know me and you have seen eye to eye on our number 2 guy pretty much over the course of the last month or so, where a lot of people don't even have this guy ranked in the top 5 for some reason, which is just absolutely mind-boggling to me. That'd be Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. But we both really love this guy. I'll let you kind of take the lead on him, and then I'll wrap things up.
Yeah, his number 1 pro to me, elite physical tools, exclamation point. Speed, power, explosiveness, height, length, weight, all tapped into him, ready to go. Day 1, every single bit of his physical shape is already created for you. The bull rush and the speed to power is the calling card. He's really disruptive when the leverage is right and can just manhandle guys backwards. The run defense is a plus, disciplined and diagnose and sheds quickly. The body type to be a true inside-outside player, and that means, lining up at edge, lining in the interior. He has that ability that not many players coming into the league have already in their bag. The cons are simple. Like, wins only as a pass rusher with his physical gifts and doesn't have a plan of attack. Hands need refinement and technique to really be a successful NFL player. Can be stiff and uncoordinated due to his large size at edge, get stopped in his track, and this flashed against Will Campbell. Like, mostly like just the stiffness and the attack of it all. Like, Will Campbell stopped him in his tracks for 3 hours, even though, Nussmeier had a pretty bad day in College Station. And then lastly, the production didn't have, major conversion of finishing, good pressure numbers, limited sacks, good run stops. So overall, like, the production's whatever. Like, I'm never going to be one of those people that is so bent out of shape that if a guy doesn't have 15 sacks, he can't go in the top 5, because I believe that with Shamar Stewart. Like, I think that is the talent that we're talking about here, because you don't see guys with his physical gifts walking into the league often. And the last time we really did at this size, he went number 1 to Jacksonville and Trayvon Walker. And he's been a pretty, I don't want to see a great player, but he's been a pretty decent, good player. Maybe not number 1 overall pick because of the guy taken behind him. But just overall, I think Shamar Stewart has all the makings to be a successful player. And I think we both see eye to eye in this player.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said it any better. This archetype of player is a player that I usually tend to be more out on than consensus, because we all fall in love with these physical tools and the physical upside that these players have. And to be frank, outside of Trayvon Walker and Danielle Hunter, they don't usually come full circle and come together. But I don't know what it is about Shamar Stewart, but I absolutely love him. As you said, the big thing with him is just his physical upside and how well he moves, how quick he is at his size, having 34-inch arms and moving as well as he does at 281. Again, he shows a very good speed to power. And maybe this might be me overcompensating a little bit for a guy that had come out last year and flashed very good speed to power that I wasn't as high on. One Jared Verse, and obviously they're not my one-to-one comparison, but having a true speed to power and a good long arm is a very, very good tool to have against these big NFL offensive tackles. Again, he sets the edge very well, has good lateral quickness, all stuff you said, and then it goes back to that minimal production, which I'm not too concerned about because, as we've covered with the previous A&M guy, I just don't think they're asking these guys to rush the passers as much as what we would have liked. And again, he's just a stiff guy. He doesn't have this elite bend, but he has the elite physical upside, and it's just very, very hard to ignore. He has a great combination of size and athleticism. That has the potential to really flash as a high-end pass rusher, but still has a very good floor to be a good edge shutter right away. So he's number 2 for me. And then number 1, which would be not shocked at all, a guy that we talked about at the top. There was conversation about him maybe going 1 overall. Now that's kind of transitioned back, and now he won't. That's Abdul Carter. He is just so much fun. Again, I don't know if I want to quite use the term generational, but he's pretty darn close to being a generational prospect here, guys. He has amazing first step. He is he has physical upside, and he's a very physical player, but is super bendy as well and can set the edge. Shows a good pass rush bag already with a good rip move, swim move, and spin move. And he's a guy that's only played the true edge rushing position for 1 year at Penn State. He was an outside linebacker before this. Obviously, the very, very easy comparison is to Micah Parsons, but Abdul Carter has shown more pass rush upside than what Micah did coming out of Penn State. And obviously, Micah has been a very, very good player that has put up very good sack numbers, but Abdul Carter has shown better upside as a pass rusher than what he is already. Again, he shows great combination of that bendiness, physicality, amazing first step. That being said, really the 3 things that stand out to me is that elite power. He doesn't have elite power. I think it's fine power, but you don't often see him bull rushing a guy. I think he's still developing a pass rush plan, but I think that just stems from him, not having a whole lot of time at the edge rushing position as is. And then as of right now, I'm not too concerned about this, but I'll throw it in here. That's just injuries with the whole shoulder stuff, but it seemed to not matter. He absolutely dominated Notre Dame with one good shoulder, and then he has that hairline fracture in his foot. But again, at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to really matter. He's just a guy that has shown so much at only 1 year as a true edge rusher. He's so good. So gosh darn good.
Yeah, Abdul Carter, my number 1, he's going to be my number 1 player.
Me as well.
Confidently. I think it's him, Trav, and then, figure it out. I would understand if you have Trav 1 too. I don't want that to be mistaken, but overall, his pros, generational bend and explosive athlete. The dip and rip move he has is the best I've ever seen doing this. The last, I haven't been doing it super, super long, but the last few years I've really dug myself into this, and this guy is just a head turner. has a real motor in the run game to make explosives happen. Just thinking back to that Notre Dame game, just the way he is finding the ball carrier, Jeremiah Love, he is just so good. Strong edge setting mentality, has the length, the size, and the speed to play at a high level, and he has the real pass production this past season. The cons, like the pass rush plan, is still raw in terms of how he wins. Again, only 1 year into playing the position, and sometimes he wins by simply being a unique athlete right now, which isn't the worst way to win, even at the next level. It can only get better in terms of his hand technique and overall plan of attack. He'll figure things out. He has the moves in his skill set. I don't want to say he's just nothing right now, but just overall, if he gets violent hands and really knows what he's doing in the technique department, like this is where the trajectory goes for him. Talking about a Micah Parsons. His dip can be chipped off the line of scrimmage, leading to immediately lost reps, but he has the high motor to make up for it. So it's like, that's his counter move, is like, oh man, I missed on the dip and rip because I'm so good at it, like you got me off base, but I'm just going to keep going. And then he just tries to run through you, and yeah, that's the last thing, is the upper body strength. The upper body strength, physicality, power, however you want to frame it. That's my last con with him. If he continues to get bigger, which I expect he is, like, he's still a super young guy. I think he's still only 21. Like, again, he's just going to continue to get better, just overall. But yeah, I mean, Abdul Carter, I just want to look up what is his size right now listed. Like, he's listed at 252 on PFF at 21 years old. Like, if that guy adds upper body strength and gets even bigger, like in the chest and the arms, watch out. Watch out, NFL. That's why I have him as my number one player.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Again, no shock there. We see, again, perfectly eye to eye with him on that one. He is my number one player as well. Do you want to run through your 10-1?
Yes, I can. Number 10, Jordan Birch out of Oregon. Number 9, Braden Swinson out of LSU. Number 8, Donovan Ezaraku out of Boston College. Number 7, Priestley Uman-Mielen out of Ole Miss. 6, Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. 5, Michael Williams out of Georgia. 4, Mike Green out of Marshall. 3, James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. 2, Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M, and lastly, number 1, Abdul Carter out of Penn State.
There you go. 10-1 for me is Femi Oladejo. I think I said that right. Out of UCLA. Yes. Femi Oladejo out of UCLA. Princey Uman-Mielen at 9. Jalen Walker at 8. Nick Scorton at 7. Michael Williams at 6. James Pierce at 5, Donovan Ezraku all the way up at 4, Mike Green at 3, Shamar Stewart at 2, and Abdul Carter at 1. Make sure you guys tune into next week's prospect. Next week's ranking is going to be kind of a combination of two groups kind of smashed together. Because, again, as we get closer, we want to make sure we get all these you guys in time, just so all of our watchers can kind of get some names and kind of hear what we think about them. And we'll move over to the mock draft here. But before we do that, Matt, did you see the picture of LeVar Arrington Jr. That surfaced today on Twitter?
Stick City is up in Penn State, man. Yes, I did, and they got another one.
I'll have to find it. I have to find this now. Yeah, this is absolutely crazy. The fact that they were able to get just another Micah Parsons, another Abdul Carter.
While you find it, I just I want it to be like, no. So Stick City is a Penn State classic. It is the wearing of 11. They call the 11 the Sticks, and always these freak athlete pass rushers get it. It was actually started by LeVar Arrington the first, And now his son is wearing Stick City after guys like Abdul Carter, who is a top 5 player, and Micah Parsons, who is in the NFL. He was drafted in the top 10 or about the top 10, and he's been a super duper star in the league. So to see them get another one as a freshman, pretty phenomenal. 'Cause is he a freshman?
Yes, he's a freshman. Which,
Okay.
He's
Yeah,
not
he
as
gets
big.
dibs.
I think he's like 6'1" right now, but he'll grow into it.
Yeah.
This is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, the picture is loading as we speak. This is this is absolutely ridiculous. If this picture would load here, I can't complain too much. Here it is. Found it. This is really a thing of beauty. Here we go. Look at him. This is absolutely crazy. How are we doing this? How do they keep on getting away with getting guys that are built like this? This is in 3 years it's just gonna happen again. Oh my gosh, we got Dylan Stewart in a few years, and now we're gonna have
Colin
Harrington
Simmons.
Jr. It's gonna be beautiful, and I'm so here for it. So no lack of edge rush talent. So that is for sure. But Matt, do you want to pull up the mock draft simulator here? We can go ahead and jump into that. So, man, this is a lot of fun. All right, let's go ahead and get started here.
All right. Do we see it?
Yes.
All right. Again, we're still at the point where like no trades are going to be made. I don't know when we want to. Yeah.
There might be one position when it'll be early on, but there's one position the more I watch things, and I don't think it'll happen with recent news, but there's one place that I might want to make a trade. But I agree for the most part, let's avoid that. But I think there's one place where it might make a whole lot of sense.
Okay. No, like I said, like I don't know how to approach trades because like I think every fan base is like the same where it's like, oh, we want to trade back. Well, someone's got to trade up. There's got to be a player on the board that someone wants to go up.
There's a prospect here that someone wants.
But how do you want to do it? Do you want? Did we? You went first last time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll go first this time. I think this is like we're pretty much at the point where this is going to be the pick every single time. If you want us for some reason to sprinkle in, you know, I think early we did Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, things like that. But now I don't think this pick is anybody but Cam Ward. And, you know, the odds reflect that. I think the decisions that the Titans have made has reflect that. Not much to really get into outside of, like, he's the number one pick.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. I think this is where the first tough decision happens within the draft.
Mm-hmm. Draft starts.
Yeah, I think this is where the draft starts. They had a lot of conversation about Travis Hunter, and I think as we just talked about in our edge rusher rankings, I think Abdul Carter is the better player, but I think the need is higher at both wide receiver and cornerback. And that is why I'm going with Travis Hunter here. Again, he's a guy that can play both ways. I think Andrew Berry talked about playing him at wide receiver when they had the draft press conference and everything. But I think here is where that conversation starts. That being said, you pick 3, and I mentioned doing a trade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the Carolina Panthers at 9, and I'm like, holy cow, we have a need at edge, and you have 2 edge rushers now in Kayvon Thibodeau and a guy that you just paid.
Traded from,
you just traded and paid in Burns. I desperately need as much help as I can get on my defensive side of the ball here at 8 coming from the Panthers GM. If I offered you, let's say, obviously 8 next year's first and like a 3rd round pick. So my 8, a 3rd, so let's say 74, for example, and then next year's first. Would that be enough to entice you to move back to 8? That depends, I guess. Do you want a quarterback at this point? Like, are you sold on Shedeur? Because if you take Shedeur, I think you could. It's tough. What do you think?
So this is some of the this is a fascinating trade from both sides for me, because this is Carolina dipping back into what burned them a few years ago with Chicago, where you give up the number 1 overall pick, you trade future draft capital, and that pick becomes Caleb Williams, who you probably still would have taken over Bryce Young. So you're dipping back into that market. And then for the Giants side is that, all right, we're moving down 5 picks, we're getting a future first. Is Joe Shane looking at Brian Daboll in the room going, we might not even make this pick. Like, this might not even be a player that we get to draft with. So it's fascinating on both sides. I completely understand it, because if you're the Giants, you're moving down with the hopes that Shedeur is there. But at the same time, you're taking yourself out of the quarterback, zone. Like, you are now putting it in the hands of, Vegas and New York, which I don't think those teams are going to take quarterbacks. But it again, it's the second quarterback on the board. You never know who's going to love Shedeur or not. Michael Penix goes 8 last year. It's always going to be my reflection point. So it's fascinating from both sides. I think for the sake of content, I'm going to do this, because I think this is fun
Really,
for all of it.
Before you do that, your Giants phone is also ringing. On the other line, you got the Patriots calling. And they said, we too also want Abdul Carter. We're not giving up as much. We're not giving up our first round pick this year, because we're moving up 1 spot. It makes absolutely no sense. So on the other line here, you got the Patriots saying, we're willing to move up 1 spot because we want this guy just as much as the Panthers do. I know we just went out and we just paid Harold Landry, but he's not going to stop you from drafting a guy like this. I said, here we are. We will give you 69 to move up 1 spot. So now you have 2 trade offers. You have a first this year, a first next year, and a 3rd from the Panthers, or 69 to move back 1 spot and still get the guy you probably would have taken.
I would leverage one more time with the Patriots and want 106. Kind of equivalent to the Chicago trade up with the 1 spot. I think in that trade it was a 3rd and a 4th to move up the 1 spot. Of course, for a quarterback, it's a different, market, but I think those are equivalent trades in terms of value. So if I threw in 106 and, we swap 219, is that...
Could I urge you, could I push you? You can keep 219, and I'll just give you 144 instead of 106.
Okay. All right. I think that would happen. I think that would be enough. I think in the grand scheme of overall, I think 106 would be it's as weird as it sounds, 106 would be a must, but for the sake of let's agree to this so we can keep marching along, I think 104 is definitely worth it. So I will force this trade. So you get a 4th, you get a high value 3rd that can be a 2nd round player, and you get kind of that 5th round comp zone to move back 1 spot for the Giants. So forced trade. Your New England Patriots are now on the clock, Ben, and I think I know who you're going to take.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be Abdul Carter. We moved up to get the number 1 player in my eyes within the draft, a close to generational talent at the edge. I know we have other needs, but we can get a wide receiver. We can get, an offensive lineman and later on, and Stephon Diggs. Now we don't have that same wide receiver that we did now 3.5 days ago or 2.5 days ago. Abdul Carter.
No, I love it, man. This is the fun of trades, because we got to get the gears turning, That got my creative head spinning. But for the Patriots, I mean, it's easy. Like, if you can go and get Abdul Carter and prey on a team's desperation, go ahead and do so. But for the Giants, I'm not going to take Shador. Not because I don't think Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston stops you. It's just, again, the value. I can't do it. I cannot do it. Overall, it's too tough of a choice to make. And yes, Ben, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go down here and I'm gonna collect Shamar Stewart. And I know probably a lot of people are wondering, like, you have Dexter Lawrence, you have Brian Burns, you have Kayvon Thibodeau. Yes. You could create a fearsome foursome along the defensive line with these four guys. I think putting a guy like Shamar Stewart next to, you just create one-on-ones. You are just creating one-on-ones across the board for some of your best players, because Dexter Lawrence is predominantly going to be double-teamed, and he's good at splitting those. You put Shamar Stewart right on the field early, and he is going to, I think, wreak havoc. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is at a point where, like, he doesn't stop you from taking a guy anymore, as he once did maybe a year ago at this time. But I think Shamar Stewart might be one of the better players on the board, especially along the defensive line, that I'm going to do it at 4 here. I think a lot of people are sitting there going, it should be Shador, it should be a Will Campbell. I think Will Campbell is definitely discussed. But, hey, we moved back one spot. We still found a position of need. And created another advantage along the defensive line. So that's where I'm going.
There you go. Patriots fans, let us know what you guys think about that. Trading back one spot to get off Abdul Carter to then take an edge here, but you picked up two good picks from it. Let us know what you guys think about that. I'm sure that's going to be
I think it's controversial, no doubt about it. I think Shamar Stewart does not have as many fans as it does here on this live stream between you and I, but I think it spices it up.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and this will still be you picking for Jacksonville because you're the odds.
Okay. I think, like, again, we kind of flirted with this idea last week with the Teterow and McMillan, so it lets me be chalk again and take Mason Graham, because Mason Graham, again, just makes a ton of sense. He's a limited, like, player. Like, he's not an overall, like, overwhelming body type and interior, but overall he's got his head on a swivel, and he's just always making plays for Michigan. You just go and watch the Ohio State stuff. His sophomore tape was amazing stuff, as I've been really digging into the old stuff with him, because this past season wasn't as dominant. But yeah, I think Mason Graham to the Jaguars, again, like, we keep mocking it here, I think it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, again, no pushback. That Mason Graham is still one of those players that I'm a little bit perplexed on why people are slowly becoming more out on him. People started like, oh, he's top 5 blue chip player. Now some people don't view him that way. But
yeah,
I don't know why. I wish I could give you guys an answer to that. And speaking of players that people were high on at the start of the process, and now some people have him ranked as not even the number 1 player in his position, we usually go Ashton Jeanty here, but is Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker going to stop you from taking Teterow McMillan at this point? Absolutely not. No, thank you. Give me Teterow McMillan here. Again, this gives Geno now a guy along the lines of DK, given I don't think DK used his body the way he should have. That's besides the point, but gives him another big body target that he was at least used to having when he was at Seattle, and they give him a true number 1 wide receiver, at least a true number 1 guy that me and you believe. I know some people don't, but me and you both see him the same.
No, yeah, I completely agree. Like you said, you made a perfect point. Like, those guys on the roster right now don't stop you from doing it. If anything, it encourages you to go get a true Alpha X that hopefully can, develop into that with a good quarterback. Like, I think we both agree Geno Smith is in that, above average tier, and clearly gets that archetype of the ball with DK Metcalf. So, no, I really love it. The Jets, I think the Jets can go a bundle of ways. I think you could attack the tackle position, even though you took Olu Fashanu a year ago. You can attack the defensive line here if you so choose. You lose DJ Reed to free agency, but you kind of plugged it up with Brandon Stevens. I don't know what to do with the Jets here, so again, I think it falls on BPA, and that's Will Campbell here. I've seen a lot of Tyler Warren here because I think a lot of people don't know what to put here. I think you just get Will Campbell, you keep growing the offensive line. I think you just find a place for him to fit, and you figure it out. So I'm going to take Will Campbell.
I like it. Again, continue to build a good offensive line.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows Justin Fields did not have that with his time in Chicago. Now, if you're the Panthers, you're pretty upset, right? You're punching the air.
We got outbid,
You're like, well,
man.
we thought we had Abdul Carter. Well, it's okay because he didn't fall, but we'll be able to take Shamar Stewart. We'll be able to take Tedero McMillan, and now you're out of the Mason Graham, and you're now out of all of these guys that you thought you were going to be able to get, and just kind of the way the board fell. So it has to be a little bit of a stab in the back for them. Gosh, yeah. I mean, I guess we're gonna get a little bit of an early run on here with edge, and I'm gonna take my third best edge rusher at this point in Mike Green. And he offers that pass rush upside that you need from a defense. Again, that defense basically needs every single position at this point, and might as well go and get the best defensive prospect that's available.
No, I agree with you. I think the board just dictates it, man, for the Panthers. It's at a point where there's 3 dudes they are begging for, and they all go 3, 4, and 5. And I think there's a strong conviction that they are going to go 3, 4, and 5 because those guys are just that much better. And you made an effort. You made an effort being the Panthers to go up and get it, but you outbid yourself with the New England Patriots. So that's what's fascinating this whole thing. The Saints. I think the Saints are looking at the board and they're going blue chip potential is dwindling. I think they're at a point where they need this pick to hit. And I think this is a weird choice, but it's Ashton Genty for me. I think Ashton Genty is that good, and I don't think Kendre Miller stops you. I don't think Alvin Kamara reaching his 30s stops you, and I think you see what Kellen Moore did with a dynamic rushing offense last season, and yeah, the line play needs to get there like the Eagles were, but having a dynamic player like Saquon Barkley only helps things. So again, I think that the Saints, being a fan, it's on my cap. I think that they should be in the business of getting good players. And I think at 9, if this is the way it falls and Ashton Genty is the best blue chip player on the board, I think you just have to take him and figure it out. And I think a lot of people would look at that and say, you got to take valuable position. And I probably agree with you, but that's not this class, and that's not the player Ashton Genty is.
Yeah, you at this point you need to be able to draft good players that are going to hit, and that's Ashton Genty there.
I think taking the fourth.
So I was going to ask you about that.
Taking the 4th lineman, taking Membu, taking Simmons, who I like it's tough. It's tough to take those guys over someone as proven as I believe Ashton Genty is going to be in the league. That's just my whole argument with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. This is where it gets tough. You were hoping that Ashton Genty fell to you at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I do have Armand Membu as the better tackle prospect. That being said, do you want to force the transition from right over to left? Because your right tackle is just fine. You have Darnell right there. And there's another very high-end tackle within this class that did play on the left side and played it fairly well. And there's injury concerns about him, but he was at the pro day today, and he did test. In the fact that it's 5 months off of a patellar tendon tear, and he's still doing that, I think shows really, really good signs. I mean, we're not going to overthink that. We're going to take a tackle. We're going to build the best offensive line we can. We don't want to have to worry about teaching a guy the different side of the offensive line. So we're going to go Josh Simmons here.
I like it. You know my feelings on Josh Simmons. I think he's the second best tackle in the draft. I think he could have been really pushing Will Campbell if he didn't get hurt as early as he did. But like you mentioned, I mean, he's coming off that patella tear, and he's working out, and he's looking great doing it. So, yeah, I think Josh Simmons is going to be every bit of a top 20 pick for me just because of everything he has, the size, the power, the athleticism. Those tackles go. Like, they just do. Like, for God's sakes, Alex Leatherwood was a top 20 pick. So, I just don't want to see someone overthink Josh Simmons in the long-term scheme of things in this world. So then we get to the Niners. I think the Niners' easy pick is Armand Membou. It would be fun to throw Tyler Warren in there. I think James Pierce is a fascinating player, being my third edge rusher, and I think he's warranted of this pick. Because you swing and miss on getting Joey Bosa to play with his brother, but overall I think it's easy. I think it's Armand Membou. You just plug him in on the right side. You get Colton McKivitz off the field, and you now have a progression plan whenever Trent Williams inevitably hangs up the cleats. You have someone in the building who is going to transition with your system. So Armand Membou.
Yes, I like that. Again, you have to continue to build up that offensive line. Again, your guy that was going to back him up left in free agency this year and went to the Chiefs. So you have to find someone to fill in that spot. Again, I was debating about taking him at 10, so no pushback here. Now at 12. If Shamar Stewart would have fallen to 12, I would have taken him here. I know that there's need at the skill position players for them. But it would have been awesome to take him here. That being said, I'm not going to reach on those next edge rushers. I do think there's a clear cutoff between Shamar Stewart and those other guys for me. So we're going to go out and we're going to get a skill position player. I think we're going to get Luther Burden. I think that's just another wide receiver that people are overthinking just a little bit too much at this point in the process. He's a good player. He offers yak ability. Just do it. Look, number 1 in the country in missed tackles force. Don't overthink it.
No, I think we did this early enough. I love his skill set next to CD. I just do. I think it gives you he might not be as vertical as CD, but CD is vertical, but the last few years they've really worked him in like Michael Thomas, where like he's kind of split around and been a reception hog. Just because they don't have anybody else to really spread the football to. This gives Burden that opportunity to be that, quote, reception hog, while CD gets more vertical, which I think he has the ability to do at a high level. Then we get to the Dolphins. The Dolphins are such a weird and awkward team to do because, I think it's just, it's offensive line. Really, I think it has to be, but again, it's am I going to reach on one of these offensive linemen? I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah.
I really like Gray Zabel, but plugging him in at pick 13 as a guard is a tough position to be in. You lose Javon Holland. You've lost Christian Wilkins in the past, so it's you're really scrambling at this pick to be a success. So, I think I think Walter Nolan is the pick for me here. I think you're just trying to get more stout on the interior, get a good player who's going to be a productive player in year 1, and I think Walter Nolan gives you that ceiling of upside. So, going Walter Nolan.
Yeah, go and get your Christian Wilkins replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Colts fans. He's here. You need the position. It's Tyler Warren. I know we try to change it up for you guys. I know we try to change it up for you guys, but this is just one of those picks that if he makes it to 14, I am betting my bank account, I'm betting my house, I'm betting my car on him being the selection at 14. I just couldn't pass it up. Again, they for years now have needed a playmaker at the tight end position. And just go and get whoever your quarterback is, whether it's Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, just another pass catcher.
No, dude, I was really hoping it was Jade because I would love to see Jade in a Lou Anarumo scheme that is based on intelligence and just being in the right spot. I think Jade really, really preaches to that, and I think you could still take a corner, even getting Trevarius Ward, but it would be a weird skill set with him and Kenny Moore on the field. So I do get it. The Falcons, I mean. Are we just going to keep doing it? Like, I think we're just going to keep giving them edge rushers or defensive linemen until the draft happens, because we kind of have to, because it's just a grim position right now. And I know they tried to change it in an aggregate last year. Who was that Clemson guy last year they took? I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they threw just a bunch of guys at they took Braylon Trice out of Washington, and he tore his ACL pretty. Yeah, Rook Ororo, the Scooby-Doo noise. Yeah, they took him and Braylon Trice, and they tried to rebuild this thing in an aggregate, and it's still a problem. That I don't know if they take one here, but again, it's still your glaring need. So it's I think you should take one here. And James Pierce is the best one on the board. I think he's a top 15 player, and if he falls to 15, I'm gonna take him here. So, going James Pierce Jr. And it's all about body types with that. If you want to take Michael Williams, I don't think that's a wrong choice either.
No, it's really dealer's choice at whatever edge position you need, or I guess pass rusher position. If Walter Nolan had fallen to 15, I wouldn't be shocked if they took Walter Nolan at that point. They just need people that can get after the quarterback, because they do not have it. For me, this is an easy selection. It was a guy that I had talked to you about just the other day that I think this would be the perfect selection if he fell all the way down to 16. The Cardinals need help at the cornerback position. They have a lot of guys that can play the slot, and I think as fun as Barron is and as many positions as he can play, I think his best position is probably the slot. So that's why I'm not going there, and I'm going my number one outside corner and Will Johnson. I think he's a great fit, and I think they need help there along the outside of that defense.
Yeah, I agree with you. Who was it? Garrett Williams out of Syracuse. He was awesome in the slot this year. He made I know it's a joke thing, but I do this thing every year called the All Matt team, where it's people I just are underrated, and he was easily my nickel. So yeah, I think taking Jade kind of limits that. So again, I think Will Johnson is a ready-made outside corner, even if 2024 he kind of just I think the best word to say is he phoned it in, and that's fine. He won the national championship, and his quarterback left and his coach left, so he kind of was just waiting it out, hoping could I get to the league a year sooner. But thankfully, you didn't take the guy I wanted for Cincinnati. That's Jahad Campbell, man. I think Jahad Campbell, developing with Al Golden now there, I think Jahad Campbell is the perfect type that you want to put with Al Golden. I think you just want to put athletic bodies on the on the defensive side of the ball and tell him to develop them and turn them into starters. And I think Jahad Campbell is that. Am I taking a linebacker a little too early? Maybe, but Jahad Campbell's just overall skill set is overwhelming. And again, this speaks to, if you're still here from the edge conversation, Jalen Walker is going to be an off-ball linebacker for me, and he's not going to be one because Jahad Campbell is in this class. And I've been on this kick since December, man. This guy is truly phenomenal. And I I don't really take these guys in the top 20. Keep going.
No, absolutely. I agree. Again, I think he's just such a very good, well-rounded prospect that can be a very good linebacker. Then again, can also be a very good pass rusher, which is two things that you desperately need, especially considering Jermaine Pratt has still requested a trade, and we're sitting waiting on our hands for that to happen. So
yeah.
Now this is where it'll get interesting. When they signed Sam Darnold, we had the conversation about you had, after the first year, the ability to get out of that contract.
Yep.
And are you trusting Sam Darnold to be your quarterback of the future? I'm not, especially with his inability to handle pressure, which is really funny considering I'm going to take Shedeur here, which is another guy that struggled with pressure. But, you know, if you view Shedeur as the guy that can be your quarterback of the future, the fact that he fell to 18, you don't have to trade up to get him. It's a plus in the books of the Seahawks if they like him. And he's one of those interesting guys that I've had numerous conversations about. I'm not a fan of him, but if a team falls in love with him, it's going to be a good pick for that team. I might not like it, but the team could love it.
Absolutely, absolutely. If I'm the Steelers at 21, I'm kind of kicking myself. Maybe, you know, because you can't trade up to 17. Maybe you can go up to 16, but again, Will Johnson's not going to be there. You kind of just look at the board, and it's hard to go up and get one of these guys because the guy that they would draft here, it's hard to imagine making it to 21. So it's fascinating because I think, like, I was sitting there with the Steelers going, I think that's the perfect spot for him, but you swoop in, get a Seahawks with a coordinated plan for a rookie quarterback. So yeah, I think it's a phenomenal pick. And then we get to the Bucks. I think it's just been too long here. I think you just get Jade in the building, and I would hate it, but again, like it makes a ton of sense for them. Putting next to Jamil Dean, it gives him that versatility in the back end. You already have Antoine Winfield. It just continues to add another layer of versatility to your secondary, because I can't justify taking one of these edges here. Maybe you want to take Michael Williams to kind of differentiate the skill sets with Yaya Diaby, but you spent on Hassan Reddick. I think you're willing to spend in the secondary with Jade Barron and how good he is.
It's just one of those positions that the best player fell to you, and he probably should not have been on the board at 19. Yeah. Don't overthink the pick. And speaking of overthinking the pick, it's really between two players here. And they're both skill position players. Do I get a Matthew Golden, or do I get the guy that's right underneath Matthew Golden within the simulator in Amarian Hampton? I think there are some Broncos fans that are out there that'd be like, are we really going to do the UNC running back thing again? With how well the Javonte Williams thing went with them. But he's just such a better running back than Javonte Williams. I don't think anyone would argue with you on that one. I'm going to go that way. I'm going to go Amarian Hampton here. I just think it adds another level to this offense. It gives them hopefully an elite rushing attack that they need. And go and get another skill position player to help out your young quarterback.
I like it. I think, like, even if I'm a little bit lower on him, I completely justify and understand the reasoning behind it. The Steelers, if I'm here, you trade for DK, you have George Pickens, you don't really have a need for the receiver. I don't think the quarterbacks are at all good enough to take here, like, at all. I'm completely out on the quarterbacks.
Well, you don't want to take Jackson Dart here?
I'm completely out on the quarterbacks after the top 2 and the top 32. If any of these, like, I've seen so many mocks where there's 3 quarterbacks in the first round, I cannot get there, and I don't think I will get there at this point. But I think this is a perfect spot to kind of just plug another tackle. In Kelvin Banks. Even if I'm lower on him, I think this position just runs. I think this position just goes down the board. I want to see, like, am I missing anybody? Not really. No. Kelvin Banks is the pick here. Again, just a high-value position. Broderick Jones hasn't really showcased what you would want him to be. Just plug in another guy in Dan Moore's spot. It gives you flexibility to move Troy Fautanu into the guard position where James Daniels kind of leaves open. You have Zach Frazier already. You're really just that left side of your line into the middle at center is just cost controlled. That it makes up for the money that you have to pay Rodgers and the money you're inevitably going to have to spend on T.J. Watt and the defense that they keep spending on. So that's what I think the pick should be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, continue to build a good, young offensive line. It's the way the Eagles did it, and it's turned out very well for them. For me here with the Chargers, it's between two Michigan guys here. It's really between a Colson Loveland or Kenny Grant. They lost Apuna Ford, who played a big role within their defense that can go and plug that up. Jesse Minter is he understands Kenny Grant. I mean, he was Kenny Grant's defensive coordinator when he was there. And for the sake of doing something that we haven't done, I will do Kenny Grant here. And I think it is a good scheme fit, and it's a good position that they need to fill, especially with Apuna Ford that left. Yeah. 339. He's just going to eat up
Maryville.
Space.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's from Maryville. Yeah.
That's awesome. Didn't know that. I just learned that.
Really? Oh, yeah.
But yeah. All right. No, Kenny Grant's a huge dude. And like he's much taller than Poona Ford. Poona Ford was I don't know if you've seen it, but there was a TikTok I saw of Jason Kelsey talking about Poona Ford. And that Poona Ford was his hardest guy to defend because he was the one dude on the defensive line that was smaller than him. And how I mentioned leverage earlier, like Poona Ford would always win the leverage battle against Jason Kelsey, and he was always frustrated playing him because he was so stout and built. But yeah, no, I think I love the pick. Again, Kenny Grant's a weird, like, I don't want to say overthought player because, like, I think this is a little high for him, but he's a specific skill set. So, like, if your specific skill set is comparable, you remember Mozzie Smith with the Cowboys. Like, Mozzie Smith was not really a first-round player, but that specific skill set was so desired, being a run-stuffing, space-eater defensive tackle, that they just go here, and you kind of just have to make the sacrifice because there's not many guys like him. But the Packers,
I think Kenny Grant is a better player than Mozzie Smith too. I think he shows better pass rush upside, and he's more athletic, and honestly more athletic at a bigger size. So if Mozzie Smith can go here, there's no reason to believe that Kenny Grant could not.
I agree with you. I think that the Packers sprint in this pick. They take Mykel Williams. I think this team needs more. Just it's what's tough is because you are making the decision at this position, like either Ezeraku, who's a like we talked about, an awkward body type, or you take Mykel Williams, who is a completely raw pass rusher comparative to the guy you took many years ago, another Michigan guy, Rashawn Gary. And you're just hoping Mykel Williams can figure it out because, man, was that playoff game really rough for them on the pass rush side of the ball. I think everyone kind of lumps in that they need a real receiver. I don't think there's many receiver ones in this class that doesn't already, compare to a skill set they already have. Like, I love their receiver room. It's just, we're missing an alpha. Oh, no. But, I don't think receiver is as big of a priority as people want to make it out to be, and I don't think the corners on the board are worth sprinting in at pick 23. Maybe Revel, but I think we've done that before, so I wanted to kind of switch it up.
Yes, I agree. So we're gonna go the same position that we took here last week for our Vikings fans. A little bit high for the people who don't listen to the podcast, but for me, he's RB3. Aaron Jones, I love him, but he's not going to stop you from getting what I would consider another elite running back prospect in Caleb Johnson. You can go out and, again, build a good, solid team, especially on the offensive end. I mean, why was J.J. McCarthy able to succeed as well as he did at Michigan? It's because his team was able to run the ball at any point they really needed. And so go out and build a good run game that allows him to flourish in the pass game.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad you're on my side. I think I did this pick last week. So, yeah, I mean, to just do it again, it's a great idea. But the Texans, it's kind of deciding between, do you want to keep Matthew Golden in state, or do you want to kind of reunionize Emeka Egbuka and C.J. Stroud? And I'm going to defer to what I think the quarterback wants, and that's Egbuka. So I'm going to take him here. I don't think there's any way you can go wrong. I had these guys ranked pretty similarly when we did receivers. So, again, I think they both offer different skill sets. But I think Matthew Golden is enough similar to like a Tank Dell that when Tank Dell comes back, there's more flexibility with him and Egbuka. And, of course, Nico Collins. So that's why I'm taking Egbuka.
Absolutely. And you have to take it with a grain of salt because it was his pro day. But people had him clocked in at a 4.48, which was better than what I would have thought. Very functional.
These running backs are
very easily translate.
Yeah, these receivers are just faster, man.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm going to take the easy pick. They don't really have a tight end that blows me away. You're building a good young defense in general. I would have liked to maybe take a defensive tackle, but I'm going to defer that a little bit. I'm going to take Colson Loveland.
Good pick. Yeah, I think with how desired this team was to try and get Brock Bowers last year, this makes a ton of sense. And I would not be surprised if Sean McVay can't help himself and he goes up from like 26 to into the late teens just to solidify Colson Loveland, because you could see Sean McVay just like scrambling after Warren goes at 14. He's just like, we're not gonna get him. We gotta go get him. So yeah, I think that would be just hilarious. Do we just take Jalen Walker here again? No. We've done that too many times. But the Ravens, man, I don't know how to think of the Ravens. Like, what have been their net like losses from their trying to be a Super Bowl team last year? They just signed Chidobe Awuzie, who played for the Titans and the Bengals the last few years. So that kind of stops me from taking a true corner. Malachi Starks is on the board. He's a fascinating player because I think Marcus Williams is going to walk, and I don't know the story on Ardarius Washington, if he's a free agent or not. So I'm going to go Starks here. Again, just give you a true center fielder. Again, just take the good players and figure it out. And, oh, by the way, I get to, screw Buffalo behind me, who beat me last year. So, yeah, Malachi Starks. And they've done this before. They took Kyle Hamilton in the 14. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Giving you the best safety tandem in the entire NFL, without a shadow of a doubt. Have fun playing.
Tyrann Mathieu and Justin Reed now exist, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, my bad. I forgot.
Yeah, settle down. I'm out.
Yeah, we're going to give a guy... we're going to get a guy opposite of Hutch here. They desperately needed pass rush when Hutch was gone. And my guy's staring me right at my face. I know, just an absolute pass rush demon. True pass rush grade at 90.5, which is very, very good, especially compared to the PFF grading system and everything. And again, just get another dude opposite of Hutch that can absolutely just pin his ears back and just go.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I like Ezeraku, he's in that first round range for me. I am a little bit lower than you on him, but I think he's a fascinating player that definitely warrants this pick, depending on how the board is gone. So then we get into the Commanders. The Commanders keep loading things up. They took Tunsil, or they trade for Tunsil. They trade for Debo. They're kind of just shoring up everything on the offensive side of the ball. That taking Jalen Walker makes a ton of sense on the defensive side of the ball. They end up? I think they ended up re-signing Bobby Wagner before. Again, he doesn't stop you from taking Jalen Walker. It gives you this really powerful set of like him and Frankie Louvu on the field at the same time with those edge rushers. So I think, again, Walker is a fascinating, like, if the price is right, which in the later parts of the first round, it is right for me. It's just like, I hate to spend so much time on this guy, but it's hard to see him as a top 15 pick and feel like people, if they keep staying in tune with these mock drafts, they're just never going to see Jalen Walker up there. They're just not, because I don't think either one of us is high enough on him to take them there.
Absolutely. Shocked me a little bit. I thought for sure you were going to go with Zabel there. Yeah, shocked me.
I think with the way they've loaded up the offensive side of the ball, they got to go defense.
Who do you know off the top of your head who's the replacement for Sam Cosmi? Because he's not playing next season.
I assume it's Trent Scott, who they just re-signed. Who he played in the championship game. I assume it's that.
Yeah.
But no, you are right. That ACL tear happened late enough that it will affect next season.
Yes. All right, for the Bills. For me, it's take the someone you like.
I just found like that name flashed. I really liked it. Have they addressed the interior line yet?
Not yet, and I was
in free agency. Like Tyreek Williams, man. He had that thing today though. He pulled something on his 40. I know that today. So maybe not, but that's fascinating. I liked thinking of that. That gave me some fun thoughts. But
Derek Harmon could be an option, but I don't think he offers that run-stopping ability that you probably want to take at this point with your defensive tackle, what you would be getting out of Tyreek Williams. For me, it's just DB. It's take the best DB that's available at this point. I'm going Savone Revel. Nah, that'd be fun, wouldn't it? But I'm going Savone Revel. Again, a guy that I think would not even be within this conversation if he played a fully healthy year this year. He reminds me a lot of a guy that the Eagles took just last year, the smaller school guy that really likes to a little bit physical and a little bit long.
Yeah. So. No, It again matches like what they did with Elam, man. Just take the value that falls on the board at that position. They need help there. So yeah, I completely agree with you. The Chiefs, they have Jalen Moore. They have the receiver. Like those are the two positions that I'm like staring at. Do we just like, oh no, we gave them Matthew Golden now? Like, like the Xavier Worthy thing last year. I don't know. It's tough to pick for Super Bowl champion or Super Bowl like runner-ups because there's not really a set like you need to take this. They kind of can beat to their own drum because of what they accomplished last season. But overall, if I'm deferring to the board somewhat here, is there like a better receiver on the board for me? Not really, no. Yeah, why not? Let's give him Matthew Golden.
You might as well get another Texas wide receiver. Like you said, it worked one time for him. Might as well do it again. So, all right. So before I make a pick here, because I'm not going to make the same pick that I did last week, so it'd just be boring. There's a guy I have in mind, but before I make this pick, is there any team/player fit from someone that you could see wanting to trade back into the first round to take a guy. And if there's not, that is okay. I have a guy in mind at 32. But I really think the Eagles are either trading up or trading out before they select at 32. So that's why I ask.
Yeah, the Saints could trade in to take Jackson Dart because Mel Kiper said they should take him at 9. So maybe that's a plausibility. But actually, I think I kind of want to do something. Maybe it's a little too early for the player, but based on where they went in round 1, I think this is a position that I think they want filled. So I'm going to make a deal with the Chicago Bears. And 39 to get into the first round. I think if I'm the Eagles, what am I lobbying for here? What am I lobbying to be added on? Because these 2 picks are likely not going to be involved. Am I doing a 3rd round swap like this? Am I doing we get 72, but you get back a 5th? Is that kind of the way you're going?
That's kind of what I was thinking. I think it would be too much. I don't think the Bears probably wouldn't swap 41 for 64. You think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think they're kind of maneuvering where anything is on the table except both of these picks. If you're moving into the first back into the round, you got to really pay.
I agree. Yeah, I think probably 72 for 96 would be my guess.
Okay. I'm kind of hijacking this pick, to be honest, but I bet this is what you expect the Eagles to do. Yeah, I bet this is what you expect the Eagles to do, but I'm sliding in here to go get Travion Henderson for the Chicago Bears because I think we have talked about this, and I've talked about it specifically. I think Ben Johnson just wants to really value the juice department in the running game, and I think there's nobody other than Travion Henderson that really embodies that ability like Jahmyr Gibbs had in Detroit, that you can sneak into the first round here, get him on that 5th-year contract. You don't have to sit and wait on your hands to get him, because that's what I think is going to happen with these running backs. I think early day 2, these guys are just going to roll. Remember 2020, the Jonathan Taylor, the DeAndre Swift draft. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire happening at 32 kind of started the run. I think these 3 players that we drafted, Hampton, Johnson, Genty, are all first-round players. But I think there's going to be a run in this middle part with these guys. And I think if I'm the Bears, I want to get ahead because I want to get Travion Henderson. So I'm going to take him here at 32. I'm going to zoom out once this loads. Yep, there we go. We can see the mock draft. So I think that was a fun new mix that we got to kind of showcase here with the 3rd overall pick swapping with the 4th. We get a pick 32 trade, which I bet you expect. Like I said, I bet you expect with the Eagles.
Yeah, exactly. No, I thought it was fun. Again, continuing to try to play. I mean, Shadur getting all the way down to 18. Steelers fans might be punching the air a little bit there, but yeah, fun as always. That's for sure. So, any closing thoughts before we let these fine people go?
The only thing, on Friday, the running backs that we did last week will be in YouTube format, so stay tuned. And even if you've already seen it, go and you don't have to watch the whole hour again, but just leave a like, leave a comment on your favorite running back, and we'll definitely respond to that. So that would be great for us. But other than that, yeah, that's all from me, man.
Absolutely, yes. Make sure you guys are tuned in next week for more prospect rankings. And as always, we'd like to thank our sponsors in Upcuts Grooming, Regional Radio Sports, and Spotify for podcasters.